What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and in this one we are talking captaincy ahead of Game Week 18. Originally, before there was any fixture changes, I think everyone was looking towards Man City, but obviously now Man United have got Burnley. That's kind of old news at this point, and now Spurs have got Fulham as well. So we're going to talk through the main matches, then look at some of the other players and some of the other matches at the end. By the time this goes live, there won't be too much time before the deadline, so hopefully it's useful. If you enjoy it, do give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and let's jump into it. Okay, so we'll start off with Burnley versus Man United, one of the games that was rearranged. And in general, before we look at all the stats and stuff, the players and things like that, Burnley are usually a team that I don't really like targeting for captaincy because they do keep things tight. If you look over the last kind of 6 fixtures or so, it's very rare that they will concede more than 1 or 2 goals. I think Chelsea put 3 past them earlier this season. Obviously, we know the Man City game was 5-0 as well. So the big teams can get at them. I think it's one of those matches where it can be frustrating, right? You have to show some patience. It's very unlikely that Burnley are going to come out and attack against Man United, not in any meaningful way. They're going to defend not just deep, but organised as well. Sean Dyche's teams are very well organised. And so if it takes a while for Man United to get the first goal, it could just be one of those games that's frustrating, like a 1-0 or something like that, or maybe a 2-0. So it kind of puts me off a little bit. But then I look at the underlying numbers for Burnley, and they've not been that great. Like 1.35 is okay, but it's not brilliant, right? You concede an expected goal of more than 1 every single game. 8.8 shots in the box, and it's actually got slightly worse over the last 6 and 4 fixtures as well. So XG 1.57 per game on average, and 1.4 in the last 4 matches for Burnley. And I had a look at their last 6 matches as well. So Sheffield United was the last one, then it was Leeds, Wolves, Villa. They were the last 4, and then you add in Arsenal and Everton last 6. So they're pretty good teams. Like Leeds, for example, very attacking. Arsenal weren't as good back then as they maybe are now. Right? I think a lot of Arsenal's form is kind of more recent. Everton, potentially a difficult team to face. But overall, they've not played that many really, really attacking teams, I would say, over the last 6, to the point where their stats should get slightly worse. So that would be a little bit concerning. Obviously, 1.57 over the last 4. Sheffield United and Wolves in there. Not really hugely attacking. Leeds and Villa, okay, much better. So they have played some pretty good teams in the last 4. Some at least 2 decent attacking teams. So Man United will definitely be able to have got the potential, right, to put more than 2 past them, which is what we want, right? We want more than 2 goals so we can hopefully get at least 2 attacking returns for our attackers. But it is one of those games where if it was kept to like a 1-0, you wouldn't be too surprised. In terms of the players themselves, Fernandes, Rashford, Martial, the main ones. I think I spoke about whether Martial and Cavani were going to share some minutes going forward, and they probably will a bit. There is obviously the chance that Cavani plays through the middle, Martial plays left, and Rashford plays right. I think we did that against Southampton in the second half. It actually worked pretty well. Rashford's done quite well from that right-hand side for Man United. So there is a chance that both of them play, but the fact that Martial was rested in the FA Cup. He did come on, but he didn't start the game. That makes me think he's probably going to play against Burnley. So I think he's quite a good option. In terms of shots in the box, Martial has played slightly fewer minutes over the last 4. But Fernandes is still right up there. Same amount of shots in the box as Rashford. 2 more than Martial. And he's creating loads of chances as well. His expected goal involvement's higher than those other 2 over the last 4 matches. And it does feel like one of those games where if Burnley are going to be kind of cramped in their box and we're trying to get more further forward, like I'm sure Pogba I'm sure it'll be Pogba and Fred, I expect, who are going to play in this game. So that gives more potential for creativity and passes through the lines, right? So it's going to give Fernandes a chance to get forward. But at the same time, what tends to happen is if Pogba plays, when he gets forward, Fernandes doesn't need to so much. That's the only thing that slightly worries me when Fernandes plays with Pogba. But ultimately, you cannot kind of go against the stats. His expecting goal was higher than the other 2. He's having just as many shots, but creating more chances as well. Fernandes is definitely the standout captain here. And I do think he's a really, really good captain. It's just that Burnley game. I know what they can be like. They can be extremely frustrating. It's one of those games where you watch it and you just be annoyed. It's not more than 1-0. So I think they're all good options. Martial, Rashford, I think they're all going to get opportunities to get into the box. That's where you want them to be taking their shots, right? It's just whether or not that early goal can go in. If it does, then it could be not necessarily floodgates, but at least 3, potentially 4. You never know. And I think that would be good. But if it's a tight game for the first half, then I'd be a little bit worried. But Fernandes definitely the one for me. And then Martial and Rashford pretty equal, I would say. So Man City up next. Now, I've only put Kevin De Bruyne as one of the players to look at for captaincy. Man City are obviously a really, really good team that are probably going to score plenty of goals in this game. And it is definitely a fixture that I would back, despite the numbers, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I just think, right, Sterling, we don't know if he's fully fit. Jesus only just back from injury. Mahrez, Foden, Gundogan, who's going to start? I'm assuming Gundogan will, because he got rested in the FA Cup. And his underlying numbers are quite good, right? But I feel like anyone outside of De Bruyne is in punt territory. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't captain them, but usually I stick to the main players that people are realistically looking at. So if you wanted to go Sterling, Gundogan, Mahrez, Foden, whoever you happen to have from Man City that's not De Bruyne, maybe even Cancelo, then I think there's a good option if they start, but you're obviously betting on a start and then how they do. I think Kevin De Bruyne is obviously the main attraction from Man City. You know he's going to start, he's on penalties. And if you look at the underlying numbers, his shots in the box have actually come down since the last time I did a captaincy video with him. But he's still creating lots of chances. And the quality of chances he's getting in terms of goal threat is decent. His expected goal amount for the last 4 is 3.31. That's really high. He's had a few one-on-ones. He has missed a few. Like I think the goal he scored against Chelsea was a rebound for, I think it was Sterling's shot. But he has had a couple of other kind of one-on-one situations in the last couple of, or the last few matches. Just hasn't quite gone right. Now, you can put that down to him being a bad finisher, but I don't think that's the case with De Bruyne. I think if he keeps getting those chances, the points are going to come. And I think City are starting to show some improvement, because at the start of the season their attacking numbers were way down and they are starting to get a little bit better and better and better, and De Bruyne is at the forefront of that. So I actually really like this fixture. Interestingly though, Brighton's stats are extremely good, right? Expected goals conceded for the season 1.1, right? And even when you look at the last 6, last 4, it hasn't improved or got worse that much, right? And looking at their last 6 fixtures, Wolves, Arsenal, West Ham, Sheffield United, they were the last 4, and then Fulham, Leicester. So again, attacking wise, the teams that are in there are probably the most difficult to face. West Ham maybe, but they've had no Antonio. Arsenal were obviously good, but they only beat them 1-0. And Leicester as well, right, who are a decent team. Ultimately, Brighton are not conceding a huge amount of chances. You can see that from the shots in the box. And the quality of chances is also pretty good. But they always find a way to concede. They are a team that likes to play, right? I don't really see them sitting back against Man City. And when you do that, you play into Man City's arms. So I think this could be a big score, right? I think this could be like a 4 or a 5-0 potentially. I also think Man City were able to rest some of their key players in the FA Cup. Brighton are without the likes of Lamptey, who provides so much energy down that right side, right? Defensively and attacking, because sometimes you attack, you cause the other team problems. They're not able to attack you. They don't have that with Lamptey. So I think this is a really good fixture. And although Brighton's defensive stats are better, and at some point they might come to the fore to the point where Brighton are actually a good defensive team and they starts showing in games, because right now it's not showing. Their attacking numbers are really good, defensive numbers are really good. That is not translating into points and getting them further up the table. If they keep going with Potter, I'm sure that will change at some point. I just don't think it's going to be Man City. So I really like this fixture. I think Brighton are going to come out to play. De Bruyne is at the forefront of everything they do, right? He's central to everything. Everything goes through him. Shots in the box, chances created, all set pieces pretty much as well. So I think De Bruyne is potentially the best captain this week. I think it's close between him and Fernandes. But given the Brighton fixture, although the numbers are better for Brighton defensively, I prefer them as a fixture. So De Bruyne right up there. And if you want to go for any of the other Man City players, Gundogan's stats are really good. Arguably even better than Sterling's in recent times. You could go for him, but it's just such a punt when you've got someone like De Bruyne. He's going to be in most people's teams. For me, he's the one to go for. What an absolutely mad week, to the point where Aston Villa versus Spurs is now off. And Spurs versus Fulham is now on, right? Absolutely crazy. And I've gone from, if I was free hitting, going from 0 or 1 Spurs player to 2 or 3. And I'm probably even going to have 2 or 3 on wildcard as well. So this looks like a much better fixture than Villa. And I think the fact that Fulham are kind of still just coming back from all the positive tests they had. Obviously, they had to stop training for a while. We're still not, I don't think we're even 100% sure who exactly tested positive, who's going to be available for this game and stuff. Some players even missed out in the FA Cup. Now, they could still be being rested, or they could just not be available. I'm not sure we've got that exact info. So I wouldn't necessarily back Spurs heavily against Fulham usually, but I do think it's a really good fixture this week. My only worry is, right, and I've talked about this quite a lot, is what are Spurs like from an attacking point of view? I know they scored 3 goals against Leeds, but that was pure Leeds in some ways, right? Take nothing away from Spurs, right? They did well, and they did press higher up the pitch, right? Usually the Spurs like to sit back. They didn't do that against Leeds, right? So that's something to take note of, really. But will they do that against Fulham? I'm not so sure, because I don't think Fulham are going to make so many mistakes. Leeds, bad from set pieces. One of the goals was a Toby Alderweireld header. Then there was at least one mistake from Aiden giving the ball away, and that's kind of how the penalty came about. I think that's when Spurs won the ball back. They played the ball into Bergwijn, and he got fouled. So Leeds weren't great. And also, if you look at Fulham's last kind of 4 and last 6, they have improved slightly, right? So a lot of people have talked about their defensive improvement. I still think from an attacking point of view, they're not great. But defensively, yes, they reduced the amount of shots in the box per game. They reduced the expected goals conceded. You can see that on there. Last 4, they played Southampton, Newcastle, Brighton and Liverpool. We know how good they were in that Liverpool game to restrict them to just 1 goal. And if you go back to last 6, where there was some slight improvement, not as much as last 4, they did also play Man City and Leicester, so it wasn't easy for them. So in the last 6, they've played Liverpool, Man City, Leicester, and in the last 4, that Liverpool game is still in there as well as Brighton, who I've just said have got good attacking numbers, and Southampton with Danny Ings and co. So they've done well. 0.97 expected goals conceded in the last 4 is brilliant. Scott Parker has obviously changed something there to get them looking better, but I do worry about the lack of training. My other worry, though, from a Spurs point of view, is the numbers are still not that great. 10 shots in the box is good for Kane in the last 4, do not get me wrong. Only 5 for Son, but he has created 10 chances. The thing is, a lot of those chances are being created from corners, so the quality of them is not necessarily as good as if you're doing it from open play, like a Fernandes or a De Bruyne. But 1.72 expected goal involvement for Son over the last 4 isn't bad. I just worry about how this game is going to go. If Spurs go and score 1 or 2 goals, are they going to start sitting back? They didn't really do that against Leeds. But I also, trying to think back to watching the game, I don't really remember them creating too many kind of clear-cut chances. So I think this is a better fixture than Villa, for sure. And I think it's definitely changed my opinion of Spurs players on the wild card or on the free hit. But I don't know if I want to go as far as captain them. It's just, with City playing Brighton, Man United playing Burnley. Okay, Burnley's not necessarily the greatest fixture, but Fulham have tightened up a little bit. Depending on who they've got back, they could be decent. And Spurs are I just think they're so uninspiring in attack. The only thing is, everything goes through these two. They almost always just set each other up. Right, we didn't quite see that against Leeds. We saw Kane set up Son, but not the other way around. But another day that could happen. So this could be a low-scoring game, like a 2-0. And if these two chip in with a goal and assist each, like we've seen before, then suddenly you're up to double-digit hauls for both of them, plus the bonus points as well. So I think it's a good fixture. I don't think I'm happy enough with it to captain them. Right? I think the ownership is high. I think owning them is good. It's a good fixture. They're at home. There's possible reasons to bet against Fulham. I still worry about Spurs as an attack and how much they're going to go for it. If they press high like they did against Leeds and they get up the field, right, and they don't sit back, then it could be a good opportunity for them, a good opportunity for you to captain them. I'm just a little bit uninspired by them, but I definitely would want them in my team. Let's take a look at some of the other matches. I really don't think this is going to take very long to go through. The main one is at the bottom, right? Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. For me, this is kind of outside of the box, differential captain opportunity. I think out of all the fixtures we talked about, the Man City, Spurs and Man United one, this is the only other one where I would consider a captain. A massive punt on Aubameyang, who we haven't seen score too many goals recently, but he did get one in the FA Cup against Newcastle in extra time. Lacazette obviously has done really well recently. I think he scored 4 in the last 3 or 4 in the last 4, something like that. So he's a decent option. And Crystal Palace defence has not been good. So if you're going for any game outside of the 3 I've talked about, I think this is the one. And obviously I'll go for an Arsenal player. Saka, Lacazette, Aubameyang, someone like that. Obviously everyone's got different free hit teams, so they're not all going to have those 3 players. But as an outside differential punt, if you're one of those people that likes to go massively differential with captain, Arsenal is where I would go. Wolves versus Everton, the fact that Richarlison is not necessarily available, Calvert-Lewin's out, certainly wouldn't go for anybody from Everton. I mean, outside punt on Sigurdsson maybe. If Richarlison misses out, he would be on penalties, but not sure I would go there. And obviously Wolves, the likes of Neto, Saiss, for me, they're just not great captain opportunities. Saiss could be huge, right? If Everton are missing some of their attack, Saiss plays, gets a goal, clean sheet, 15-pointer, that looks massive, but you're expecting a lot of things to go together at once for that to happen. And the only other game is Sheffield United versus Newcastle, and both teams are bad attacking-wise. Both teams are bad defence-wise. This could be, I don't think it's going to be high-scoring, but it could be like a 2-2 or something like that, or a 0-0. That's the problem. So Wilson, McGoldrick, Burke, Sheffield United, like, these are just uninspiring names. So I don't think we need to waste too much time talking about the other matches in this one. For me, it's Arsenal or bust. The main captain for me would probably be Kevin De Bruyne, followed by Fernandes, and then Kane and Son. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Would you put Kane and Son higher than De Bruyne or Fernandes? There we go. That is captaincy for Game Week 18. Let me know who you think the best captain is in the comments below. That is the last pre-recorded video for me before Game Week 18 now. It's been absolutely chaotic. So many changes along the way that's affected the content, but I've tried to keep up. Hopefully it's been useful. I will have a deadline stream at 3:30 today on Tuesday, ahead of the Game Week 18 deadline as well. And there's also Q&A up on Patreon. So if you haven't checked that out, patreon.com/letstalkfpl. Link in the description. There's a Q&A up there. You get access to Slack, team reveals, all that stuff, depending on the tier you sign up to. So if you want to check that out, link in the description below. Everyone that signs up goes up on the Legends wall. So thank you to the 200 plus people that have already signed up. If you want to give it a go, make sure you do as well. Otherwise, I'll leave it there. I'll see you on the deadline stream. Good luck with your decisions, your free hit, your wildcards, your no chips, your captaincy, and I'll see you later on.